What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So today I want to talk about Social Security reform and one way that we can reform Social Security, and that's by immigration reform. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter and Threads, you can at the TEC Show Live. Okay, so I'm gonna show you this clip, and this is Senator Menendez talking to Martin O'Malley, the Commissioner of the Social Security Administration, and they're going to be talking about immigration reform and how that could benefit people receiving Social Security benefits. And so let's go ahead and play the clip, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. Here we go.
A CBO report from last month has yet again proven that certain right-wing voices claiming that immigrants are so-called takers who drain our nation's resources are blatantly wrong. Here are a few excerpts from the report. Immigrants will grow the entire U.S. labor force by an extra 5.2 million workers over the next 10 years. Over the next 10 years, our GDP will be about $7 trillion larger, and our federal tax revenues $1 trillion greater than they would otherwise be without these immigrants. The report confirms that America's prosperity and financial security depends upon the enormous contributions of hardworking immigrants. And as more and more Americans retire, new immigrants eager for work opportunities will help fund our Social Security system for all Americans. And so even though undocumented immigrant workers contribute billions into our Social Security system to keep it solvent for U.S. citizens, they do not receive a single dime in benefits from it. So do you agree with the CBO's findings that immigrant workers continue to be essential to keeping our Social Security funds solvent?
I sure do, Senator.
Okay. And that's a point that often goes unreported in a way that I think is part of the consideration that we should have.
Okay, so you saw Senator Menendez talking about immigration reform. Now, what he is alluding to is the fact that the more people you have in the workforce, the more people you have paying into the payroll contribution. 6.2% is what you'll pay. So if you are working right now, you're paying 6.2%. Most of us are paying 6.2%. That goes to the Social Security Administration. Your employer matches that, so that's another 6.2% that goes to the Social Security Administration. And that money is used to pay current benefits. That's how it works. And then they're taking money from the trust fund. Okay, so it's not the payroll contributions that are going on right now. It's not enough to pay benefits at 100%. And so they have to draw from the trust fund. And that's why they're saying the trust fund will deplete in about 9 years. They're saying that because we're slowly taking money from the trust fund because we're not pulling in enough revenue from the payroll contribution. That's why Social Security needs to be reformed. And if we don't reform Social Security in 9 years, we're going to see a cut of about 23% because that trust fund will be completely depleted. And the only revenue coming in will be coming from the payroll contribution. Okay, so if you had a situation where you have reform, immigration reform, where you allow people to legally work in the U.S. and pay into that payroll contribution, that money would go to the Social Security Administration. So you have more money coming in and going to the Social Security Administration. So if you have more employees, that helps Social Security. That helps the current beneficiaries. Right now, we have a lot of beneficiaries and we don't have enough employees paying into the payroll contribution to pay these people receiving Social Security benefits at 100%. But if you had more people working, more people paying into the payroll contribution, then you'd be able to pay Social Security at 100%, and then you would not have to rely on the trust fund. And the trust fund can sit there, and it's being invested in bonds, so it would accrue over time. And that way, that's one way to reform Social Security. And so this is not being talked about a lot, but if you worked on that, because you have people coming to this country that are able-bodied and willing to work. And so why not allow them to work, legally work, so they can pay into the payroll contribution? What happens a lot is you have people coming to the U.S. We don't have any immigration reform right now, or we need to update our immigration reform. And so they're working, but they're working under the table. So if they're working under the table, they're not paying into the payroll contribution at all. And their employer's not paying into the payroll contribution. Their employer's just paying them cash. And so that's why we need to change the system. You have people right now that are already working that could be put on the payroll where they're now paying into the payroll contribution. So we have that. And then we have people who want to come to the U.S. and want to work, and they can also contribute by paying into the payroll contribution. And so this is one way to reform Social Security. Now, it would not reform it at 100%. I would think you're still going to have a lot of people, because you have more and more people that are retiring and more people are living longer. And so you're still going to, it's going to be an imbalance still, but it would actually help a lot. And they can do some more reforms on top of that in order to provide benefits for another 75 years. And they've talked about raising the cap. They've talked about these different things that can be done. But this is just one thing that we can do. They could pass immigration reform. If they did that, it would directly impact people receiving Social Security benefits. So I want to know what you guys think about this. So let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.